Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you watched my last video, kind of hinted at it a little bit, but me and a couple buddies have made the terrible financial decision to try our hand at sled pulling. Maybe just one or two pulls this year yet. It's already July, so there's still plenty of pulls to go, but it's starting to get through the season. So today I'm just gonna go through what I'm doing to set up for that, and maybe hopefully get a little bit of advice from you guys too, but to show you what I've got so far and how we're doing it. So let's dive in. All right, so I'm obviously not an expert at this as I've never done it, but from everybody that I've talked to that has done it and everything that I've seen, having your truck set up and ready to go as far as driveline, suspension, steering, all of that is just as important as actually having the horsepower. So let's go through that. This front end of this truck already has rear parts G2 tie rods, straight Centerlink, Pitman and Idler arm supports. I'm gonna lower it all the way to the ground. Right now, my CV angles are probably not fantastic. They're not bad. If you look in there, they're not quite straight, but they're not bad. But I'll lower the truck all the way to the ground so that they're almost negative. They actually probably will be just a little bit negative. Obviously won't be able to turn very well, but it's for a very short amount of time, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that should hold the front. We've got Fox 2.0 shocks as of lately here. So we should be in pretty good shape up front. So moving to the back, and this is where all the new stuff comes in. So obviously now I have these new HSP bars that should hopefully limit axle wrap and hopping. New lift pump there as well. So one thing that I've gotten recently, a buddy of mine sold me his extra set of Sled Stops. So the way these work is basically it's mounted to the frame, and they have a little, basically it replaces the U-bolt bracket there that normally are held into, and gives it just a little piece to hit in. So if I can get it loosen up that bolt there, and you can see basically you would lower this all the way down, so you got infinite adjustment there as far as what height you want. A lot of pulls will say you have to have, especially for stock class, you have to have at least an inch of travel. Other ones are a lot less lenient. So if I can, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jack up the front of the truck, the rear end of the truck just a little bit, thread it all the way down in, and then set the truck down so that it already has pressure against those stops. That way the truck does not start hopping down the track, just to limit that. The other thing that I've done, pretty excited about these, is I've put some Sled Stops on here as well. Basically this is just, hopefully it's one of those things that you never need, but you're sure glad you have them when you do need them. And that will be for basically if something catastrophic happens with the truck, a drive shaft breaks or something like that, and the sled comes slamming into it, these will stop it from actually hitting my tailgate, roll pan, and just jarring up the truck even farther. So we'll go underneath the truck. I'll show you what I did to actually mount these. Okay, so a lot of different companies will sell different ways of mounting these Sled Stops on, and they'll sell you Sled Stops in general, but usually they're a clamp-on kit or something like that, and I wanted these to be really easy to remove. So what I did was I ground down the paint or the powder coat off of a little bit of my big Chevy Hitch here, and mounted 6-inch hitch receivers on the back there on both sides. Here you go. So that they'll be easy to unpin and slide out when I want to. And then I just took some 2x2 tubing and took all the measurements, and then cut a 90 there, and fabbed these up so that they stick out. I think they stick out about 7 inches, 6.5 inches from the roll pan of the truck. And hopefully they should be everything that I would need just in case it were to happen. I would sure hope that it doesn't happen, but just in case it does, we will be ready for it. I also went ahead and used a plasma table and cut in fixed vane for the channel here, but into the gusset, so it just added a little bit of flare, and then capped all the ends of the tube there, so it just looks nice and clean. So these are ready for paint or powder. I'll probably just paint them since the first pull is coming up here pretty quick, but as soon as I get a free minute, I will go ahead and get these powder coated to match the truck as well. One thing I forgot to mention as well is I'm gonna excuse me, I'm gonna pull out the box there that I have in here, and then also get rid of my gooseneck hitch there as well. This truck only weighs about 6,900 pounds. Oh, excuse me, only about 6,900 pounds with me in it, 6,950 or something like that, and the weight limit is 8,000 pounds. So obviously that puts me at a pretty distinct advantage. I've got over 1,000 pounds difference from some of the heavy trucks that'll be in the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these out, and we've got some big weights. They're about 50 inches long, and they're in stacks of 600 or 650 pounds. So I'm going to put one of those in the front, probably put a piece of plywood underneath it, and then strap it into the front and bring the truck up to about 7,500 pounds. So obviously it still won't be at the high end of the class, but I think especially for what I'm doing with it for these first couple pulls, I think it'll be a big learning curve, but just something else just to add some weight, hopefully add a little bit of traction, especially for these slick tires. So really in all this, guys, I'm looking for a little bit of input. So I've done the things that I know to do, as far as the front end of the truck, and now on the rear end of the truck, it should be stable, it should be safe. I've got suspension stops there. So let's go through what else is done, just a reminder. So, the Trans is built, it's got a Gmax 5 kit with a 1056 converter. I'm planning to do it in 4 low, lock it in 3rd gear, and put it in tow haul so that the torque converter locks in 2nd there. I'll let it happen on its own, and then I've got my Fleece Allison lockup switch to be able to bypass it when the sled hits, just to give it a little bit more RPM on the high end there. But other than that, the transfer case is freshly rebuilt not that long ago. It's got a Transfercase Brace on it, new U-joints front and rear, and a new slip yoke not that long ago. On the drive shaft, the rear end has a true track in it, so we should be good there as well. Axle dump, so that was it just has it anyway, but that kind of avoids me having to do anything with the exhaust. A lot of places will say you have to have your exhaust either pointed up or down, just for safety. If the turbine wheel were to come out or something dumb like that, when we're to go hit somebody in the crowd, that's just a bad day for everybody. But that's basically where I'm at, guys. Curious if you guys have any input as far as what else can be done. Engine bay is absolutely filthy, but we'll make sure that gets all cleaned up. But other than that, we're pretty well where we're at, So stock turbo, I'll be pulling in a stock turbo class, which just still has a stock compressor and all that. I did that on purpose so that I could still pull in stock turbo class. Should be hopefully right up there in horsepower with everybody else in that class, but we'll see how that goes. The one thing I'm not going to do, because I'm not a dedicated puller, obviously this is the first couple times, I'm not planning to change tires. One of the pulls that I'm planning to pull at is it's a clay track. It's packed really, really hard. So I'm actually hoping that these proxies actually might still hook up okay. But we're going to see what happens with it. But yep, nope, that's about all I've got. Just a prep here. So the first pull hopefully will be next weekend on the 13th if I have my dates right. And then the second pull will be on the 20th. So hopefully we survive through both of those, and we'll definitely do videos on both of those as far as getting prepped and all of that. So I'm really excited to hopefully be able to show the other 2 trucks that the 3 of us are planning to pull. Both of them are a lot higher horsepower than me. One will be pulling in work stock, and one will be pulling in hot street. We got a twin truck. So it ought to be a blast. Hopefully we all make it through and just having a good time. So let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if you have any suggestions for me or any questions for me. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you can, and stay tuned. We're having some pretty fun stuff coming up.